Good afternoon and welcome to Middle East AI News Live. Ahlan wa sahlan. I'm 𝗠𝗶𝗰𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗏. This is my weekly Thursday deep dive show where we invite experts from government, business, technology to talk about the latest trends, investments, launches and issues across the region. Bringing you that every Thursday at 12 noon KSA, 1 p.m. UAE. This was originally an audio show in 2024, and now this is a video show, so welcome. And as always, you can find more about this show and about future shows at the Middle East AI News website, www.middleeastainews.com. Today, we're going to be talking about computer vision models using AI to moderate image content and building image recognition models for edge devices such as phones, security cameras, and IoT devices across industry. And perhaps one of the biggest impacts that AI has had over the past few years is to make it easier to edit, create, and distribute content. And this creates problems for people that have to manage content, and it's not going to go away. In fact, the amount of content that's being created by AI apps themselves is increasing at a rapid rate. So moderating this huge explosion in content is a challenge that internet portals, governments, corporations all have to manage and need AI solutions for. So just to look at a few relevant facts and figures, approximately 221 million photos are taken every day globally, every hour globally. And it's estimated that over 3.2 billion images are shared online every day. Meanwhile, over 15 billion AI-generated images have been created since 2022, and currently AI creates about 34 million images every day. And this creates issues that organizations have to guard against, such as deepfakes, where deepfakes can be used for fraud or for reputational damage or for even extortion. And also not safe for work images, malicious images that have code embedded in them, and adversarial attacks on systems using images. If you're a subscriber, then you'll know that you'll know all about Middle East AI News, but I'll just talk a little bit about that for those that don't know us well. You can find daily updates on middleeastainews.com on AI and other emerging tech news from across the region. We have a daily 60-second podcast that drops every morning at 6 a.m. GST with a roundup of the latest AI news from across the Middle East and North Africa, summed up in about 60 to 90 seconds. And that's available via email or via Spotify, 𝗠𝗏𝗰𝗵, YouTube, other streaming platforms. Thursday mornings, we send out a weekly email news digest with a roundup of all the key headlines from across the Middle East and North Africa, covering AI, big data, digital transformation, Industry 4.0, robotics, urban mobility, and much more. And of course, you'll find all of that at middleeastainews.com. By the website, you can obviously also subscribe to the weekly news digest and the daily news minute. And finally, you might be interested to know that there is a dedicated event invite list where you can get invites to shows like this and other events in advance. And you'll find that link in the details and the post for this show on LinkedIn or YouTube as it happens. This is broadcasting both on YouTube and LinkedIn. So thanks again for joining. Great to have you with us. You're listening to Middle East AI News Live Thursday Deep Dive, streaming live on LinkedIn and on YouTube, on the Middle East AI News YouTube channel. Great to have you with us. As mentioned today, we're going to talk about the fast-growing challenge of content moderation and managing content. We're going to talk to 𝗠𝗶𝗰𝗵𝗏𝗏's AI about its not safe for work image classification model, which has got global notoriety and has been downloaded now more than 1 billion times by global users via Hugging Face, the open source community site. We're also going to talk about building computer vision models for edge devices and building models that are sustainable and less power hungry. And we're also going to talk about a little bit about malicious images and adversarial attacks using image content. And today I'm going to be joined by Michael J. Stattelman, Chief Executive Officer of 𝗙𝗏𝗏𝗏 and founder, and who leads the team behind one of the most downloaded, or created one of the most downloaded open source AI models in the world. We'll be exploring what it takes to build technology that scales, why 1 billion people downloaded the not safe for work model that 𝗙𝗏𝗏𝗏 developed, and also its beginnings in Ras Al Khaimah in the UAE. More on Mike in a moment. First, I'd just like to say, please do share your questions on today's topics via direct message. It's probably best in the chat or in the chat in the event. We'll try and handle questions as they come in if they fit within our basically discussion plan and what we're talking about at the moment. However, we're going to pause at about 10 to the hour for Q&A. So you're also welcome to ask questions then, and if we have questions that were asked during the show, we'll address them in that last 10 minutes. So let's dive into today's topic. Today's Thursday deep dive, we're going to be talking about using computer vision models for content moderation. Let me start again. We're going to be talking about using computer vision models for content moderation and safety and security. We'll touch on the founding and the growth of 𝗙𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, the fast-growing challenge of content moderation, 𝗙𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏's not safe for work image classification model, and its milestone of being downloaded 1 billion times via the community site Hugging Face. Building computer vision models for edge devices and malicious images and adversarial attacks using images. In a moment, I'll be joined by Michael J. Stattelman, who's CEO and founder of 𝗙𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. Michael's a seasoned technology innovator and AI leader, certified by both Google and NVIDIA in AI development deployment, CEO of 𝗙𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. He's guided the company through a period of rapid expansion and innovation. His work bridges computer vision, natural language processing, and applied machine learning, delivering transformative solutions across gaming, media, pharmaceuticals, industry, and precision agriculture. And Michael's leadership, 𝗙𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, has become known for its open source, not safe for work model, which, as I mentioned, has downloaded 1 billion times from Hugging Face, which is a remarkable milestone for any model, really. The team's current focus is on online safety and security and something called Control Fabric AI. Michael has published multiple books, white papers on AI, contributed extensively to open research and developer communities through tutorials, APIs, thought leadership. So bring Michael on now to join us.
How's it going?
News Live.
Yeah, good to be here. Thank you again. Love our interactions every time, so always a pleasure.
Great to have you here. And looking forward to diving into 𝗙𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, the not safe for work model, impact on safety and security, all of those things. So let's get started. I think it'd be good start if we just talked a little bit about 𝗙𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, because this was a company that was formed in the UAE.
Ras Al Khaimah, yes.
Now Ras Al Khaimah, yes, and now has this enormous recognition globally for one model, although I know you do other models. Do you want to talk us about setting up in the UAE and how you ended up creating the things that you do and building the things that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we came to the UAE in 21 and, just looked around, and there was, just a really good energy around innovation and, expanding the technological landscape. Obviously moved to Dubai, but then we took a trip, actually one weekend, we took a trip to RAK and just really enjoyed it. It was, really nice, really easy drive, very calm. So I think for us that lent itself to, clearing out your headspace and be able to, think deeper about a lot of things. And so That's when we actually found the 𝗏𝗂𝗃 office and everything. I have to give 𝗏𝗂𝗃 and the team there, Adnan and everyone there, a lot of credit. They made it really easy to kind of, get established and get going. And, that was kind of, off to the races from there. I think originally, your comment on, making things for good, like the social impact side of things, that definitely came into play. And you can kind of see that in, anybody that, spends any time in the UAE kind of knows that their focus is on, personal safety and the kind of the well-being of the community. So that kind of actually just dovetailed right into, our kind of MO for leveraging technology for good.
And I think one of the first models that you built was for poultry farming, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Well, yes and no. So the origin story of Falcons AI is kind of funny. So we were at the Abu Dhabi Hunting and Fishing Expo, and I ran into a gentleman who was racing falcons. And I never even knew that was a thing until I got there. And he was asking me, we got to talking. He was asking about, the viability of ML solutions for predicting race winners. So I built him a model, and it worked out for him. And then so that's kind of the very first UAE specific model that we built was around falconry and falcon racing. So then we kind of looked at, okay, well, in this space with the way that this region imports proteins, right? Beef, pork, poultry, things like that. You have to look at it from a food security, from a food sustainability perspective. And we were looking at poultry health applications. And with the just crazy rise of bird flu at the time, we kind of did some research into, are there, physical attributes that these birds have when they start coming down with H1N1. And so, from some university data sets, we generated or, built and trained our first computer vision model for poultry health or poultry disease detection. And that's kind of when we first met you, actually, in RAC, and we were discussing, Precise AG and that solution. The impetus for that is to kind of, be able to have a model that helps rural farmers and helps governments collect contagion management data to better curb, the spread of bird flu and flock collapse, thus enhancing the food sustainability or food security of a given region, right? Mm-hmm. Because chicken is so good, there's nobody that, outside of vegans, I guess, but there's nobody that doesn't eat chicken. That's how good it is.
So these days you're still focused on computer vision.
Yes.
And more so on safety and security.
Correct. So, there's a lot of hype around, or you see like a lot of talk around, is the AI hype bubble busting and things like that. Well, for us, it's really kind of, a non-factor, because if you look at so many places that are just, so ubiquitous now that the computer vision has been, deployed in security cameras, Ring doorbells, the post office uses it for, high-speed mail sorting, things like that, from an OCR perspective, things like that, right? And so for us, it was computer vision is kind of mature in the actual AI space. If you look at, over the LLMs and the agentic flows and things like that. So for us, it was kind of, more of a what's sustainable, what's mature in this space, and what can we leverage for, good. And then we started looking at, okay, when you start deploying these new technologies, you inadvertently increase the threat vectors and levels of vulnerability that these systems are exposed to, because you have a new API or new interface or new surface to present as an attacks vector. So then we just started getting into what are some of the things that we can do to prevent some of these issues around this. And part of what we stumbled on was the content moderation side of things with regards to our NSFW model. And so that was one of the kind of the very first truly public good open source models that we developed. And that was all generated from a conversation, right? So we were at, my son's friend's birthday party, and we started talking about, how is, these crazy imagery getting into like, Roblox and Minecraft chats, right? These very popular children's gaming, platforms and applications, were obviously struggling with this type of content. So that's when, the team got together, collected the training data, and, built a model that we open sourced for people just to use, because there were very limited options available at the time, right? Obviously, there's a lot you can do through APIs and, AWS and Amazon recognition and, Hive and on, but a lot of people don't, want to go through, the per image, or even send their data, send their imagery data out to a third party. So we figured, this is a lightweight, 300 meg model. You can deploy it locally and set up your own, content moderation system.
So I was going to say, as I mentioned in the introduction,
go ahead.
This is a huge and fast-growing problem, and anybody in any business, particularly though in the technology sector, is subject to information overload. But actually, our machines are also subject to information overload as well.
Definitely.
We have this huge tsunami of content that's driven by new tools that make it easy to create content and copy content, AI that makes it easy to create new content, and that AI, lots of issues are going to come out of creating so much AI content at the same time. And I guess for any big company, they need to start waking up. This is actually a real problem. It's not something that's going to be isolated. It's not something that's going to apply to other people. Actually, every sort of organization in some form is going to have content moderation problems to deal with.
Oh, definitely. And so you look at, like, so one of our largest early adopters, and we're definitely grateful to Black Forest Labs. They're the ones that made the Flux open source model. So they actually embed our model, our open source model, into their GitHub documentation, right? So we're definitely grateful to them. That kind of spurned the rapid growth that we've been seeing. Obviously, there's kind of like a confluence of events. I guess I hate to use the term perfect storm of events, but it would definitely fit, right? So you have, our model came out, you had the just ridiculous adoption of open source as well as uncensored private image gen models. So that kicked off the Gen AI illicit imagery wave. And then to catch up, you have all of this regulation happening now, right? So there's all of this, CSAM, which is, child sexual abuse material regulations. Those have been in place forever. You have, all this deep fake regulations coming out now, things like that. And you were talking about the just gaudy numbers at the beginning of the broadcast, right? The 30 million or 34 million, or I think it's actually higher now. Deep fakes that are generated, right, so far in 2025, right? So a lot of people don't know that 96% of deep fakes are illicit in nature, right?
Really?
So, yes. And that's shocking if you think about, there is no law in place that can prevent somebody from, taking your picture or snatching one of, your social media posts with your image in it and creating, this illicit content of you. And they could tell you about it. You could find out it's them. But currently, in no country that we're aware of, is there any legislation that gives you any rights to, have any recourse to that situation. And so you start looking at things like that, and then you're like, okay, so what do we do about it? And with this much information, human content moderation can't keep up. And there's actually a concerted effort to kind of bring down the level of content moderation that goes on these platforms. I mean, have you been on Twitter lately? Like, it is a just madness storm of a variety of content, right? And you can run your gamut. Recently, Facebook talked about across all of its platforms rolling back the effort of content moderation and going to what is the community chats, right? Then you look at what last week or 2 weeks ago when OpenAI spoke to allowing the ChatGPT models to engage in illicit conversations to generate illicit content, right? And so it's a problem that we all understand is there, and it always has been there. It's just getting a lot worse. And the people that I think that would be in charge of wrangling this stuff are choosing to kind of step aside. And so and that's kind of why I feel like the model took off like it did.
And it's a complicated problem to solve.
Definitely.
the UAE a couple of weeks ago, I think it was, issued a warning to residents to take care not to use AI to alter images or create images of national symbols and significance that might harm the UAE's reputation. There was a month or two ago a court case in Saudi Arabia with somebody's image that was AI edited without the permission and subsequently used online. And that was the first time that come through the relevant authority for prosecution in Saudi Arabia. So these things are going to keep popping up with increasing frequency.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, so, you know, we recently found out, so there are other companies that are, you know, going the opposite route with that, right? And so we found in ByteDance, the owner of TikTok, their GitHub documentation, they actually use our model. So it's not, you know, all or nothing type of situation. There are, you know, certain social media companies, large ones, that, you know, are actively pursuing, you know, blocking and minimizing this type of content. So I think that it's just, you know, whether you want to be in this fight or not, if you consume any sort of digital content, or anybody in your household does, you're literally already in the fight. Like, it's just, you know, how much effort do you want to put into it, you know? And so for us, it's just, you know, putting a solution out there that, you know, you don't have to, you know, you can obviously through APIs or Docker containers or SDKs, you know, you can have it, but we do have our open source model to give you some semblance of, you know, fighting chance.
So this is an open source model. It's been available for download for free from the Hugging Face open source AI community for some time. When did that start, and when did you first share this as open source code? And what's been the story there behind the 1 billion users?
Yeah. So we first deployed it in 2023, and like I said, it really started taking off last year. And then the beginning of this year, that's when we started hitting like just crazy benchmarks, right? 100 million a month. We got up to #1 overall most downloaded, you know, model on the platform over the last 30 days. And then, you know, recently there was a report that came out from the Hugging Face team that we're actually ranked 7th all time most downloaded AI models. So I take that as, you know, definitely grateful to God for, you know, the opportunity and the gifts to be able to build a model like that. But I also take that, like I spoke to previously about, you know, people need solutions that maybe they weren't finding elsewhere. And so if this one thing can solve this one problem, and it's free and it's high enough quality that, you know, it's going to be sustainable for us to use in our systems, then that's where we take it. Probably a lot of orchestration going on. So if you look at these like WordPress providers, a lot of content providers, CMS solutions, things like that. So if you're spinning up 20 or 30 different sites for, you know, 20 or 30 different of your clients, you already have a baked in solution that, you know, works. So you can scale that across, you know, all of your clients' content. Where that comes into play is, so one of the feedback that we got was it was a developer for a small marketplace system in where was it? Somewhere in Malaysia, I believe. And he was talking about, you know, it's crazy because, you know, we offer a place for our members or our clients to upload images of their products and services. Well, you know, you get a new client, they want to advertise a new service. You know, how are you going to catch that if you're not actively, you know, paying attention? Well, you know, you can have that model running on your uploads side from you know, your platform, and actually start flagging and catching that before it actually gets out to, you know, the general public, and then you suffer brand damage or, you know, something along those lines. Yeah. And I thought that was pretty good. The other crazy use case we got was a gentleman was telling us that he was running, he was the admin for his company's intranet site. And so a couple gentlemen, you know, got their layoff letters and decided to, you know, upload certain content to their company avatars on their intranet. And I was like, wow, I didn't even think about it like that. But I mean, if you actually go through your day and you think about how many applications or solutions that you touch that have image upload or image storage or image display capability, you're like, oh, yeah, these threat vectors are everywhere. So it kind of makes sense that it would scale to the level that it has.
Absolutely. So just to go back a little bit, so
Okay.
when did the downloads hit 1 million? Do you remember? Because that must have been pretty exciting at the time that, you know, your model's been downloaded 1 million times.
Yeah, honestly, the high point for me was 100,000. God, because I mean, I just never, you know, when you build something, and I encourage all developers, just keep building. You don't know whose problem you're solving. You may think you're just solving your own problem, but you know, we're all humans. We all share all of the same traits, obviously, right? But you could be solving a problem for 1 million or you know, 1 billion, you know, different users in different domains. And so the proudest point for me, honestly, was when I hit 100,000, because I was like, wow, there's actually, like, I've actually, you know, put something out there that has impacted, you know, 100,000. And then so it starts growing and you hit a million. This is okay. Let's see where this is going. And then, you know, we hit 10 million, and then, you know, 50 and 75. And then I think I was on your show, or you did an article. That's what it was about us on when we hit 100 million. And that was kind of, you know, really.
That was just a few months ago, wasn't it?
Correct. I think it was back in May or June.
Yeah.
And then, you know, for me, just continuing to watch it grow, and you look at like, okay, well, wow, this is really a problem. And then so you start digging a little bit deeper into, you know, like all these notification apps and, you know, all these filters and, you know, all of this stuff. And you're like, you know, you're mortified as a parent, but I feel like, you know, as a practitioner, anybody being in IT, like you have a responsibility for the applications and platforms that you're developing on and developing for, to kind of, you know, take some accountability and some responsibility through your system, right? So I think gone are the days of, well, you know, it's just user generated content. It's really, you know, we can't really, you know, moderate this and this, that, and the other. And, you know, and me and you spoke previously about, you know, the mental toll that content moderation takes. And I mean, you know, we won't have to get, you know, all graphic and everything, but I think we're all aware as adults the depravity that happens in the world, and the fact that it's actually, you know, documented to the level that it is and posted to these various platforms. It's so far beyond any, you know, human content moderation efforts to even remotely tackle half of this stuff. So
again, it's the volume, isn't it?
Hands down, it's the volume and velocity, right? Because it's one thing to have, you know, 100 billion images generated over 10 years. It's another to have 100 billion images generated over 10 months, right? And so, you know, the fact that we have these, you know, advanced capabilities and these tools that can automate a lot of this stuff, why not turn AI on itself to manage itself, you know, more adequately? Now, you know, once again, AI is a probability, so there is going to be some fall off, but I think that's, you know, kind of going to be the MO moving forward.
Yeah. So this has got more than a billion downloads. I'm sure the founders listening to this will want to know, well, how do you make money if you've you've given 1 billion downloads for free?
So we have enterprise versions. We have, you know, the API available. We have SDK available for on device. We have, you know, the Docker container for your, you know, in infra, if you want. That's a higher trained, more edge cases, deeper edge cases, model with some robustness built in. So we spoke previously about the brittle nature of a lot of the models and a lot of the architectures, because when you start, you know, deploying these solutions at scale, then you start, you know, spreading your threat vector, and you're going to get people testing your solutions and your applications and your models in different ways. And so, you know, the enterprise version or the paid version is much more robust, less easier to, you know, adversarial attack than our open source model. And so that's kind of, you know, our monetization strategy is the enterprise is, an upgraded version. If you need something, we have something there for you with the open source model, but then we also have the paid, the new version, which was actually, we partnered with Intel to benchmark. It's a lower power, lower footprint, smaller model for to go 100% on device. Because once again, like we spoke to previously, you have all of this legislation coming down to try to catch up with, all of this AI push and this, just rapid adoption of this technology. And so when you start getting into data sovereignty laws, in-country data legislation, things like that, right? You're not going to have, for example, right, something like KDHA, if they mandate that all schools have to have, this type of content moderation on device. Well, parents aren't going to, accept images of their children or, whatever the case may be, going to, a third party vendor out of country. So you can kind of do that with our Docker container running in the school's own infra, or, using our on-device SDK or PWA running actually on the Chromebooks or whatever devices that your children were using. And the notification is only getting sent to the MDM solution or, mobile device management solution within that infrastructure. So we see no data, nothing. It all stays in-house in your own infrastructure, and still gives you the ability to, block and detect and search for and manage this type of content.
Yeah, and presumably something that all school systems would want to do.
I mean, you would think, right? It's like I said, the internet's not getting any cleaner anytime soon. So,
no.
It's on us to kind of first stop it and combat it where we can. And it definitely aligns with the UAE values, right? It's this type of content has, no place in certain places. And so,
yeah. You touched on Edge a few minutes ago, so I'd like to go back to that because Edge is also a very fast-growing space for computer vision,
huge.
with IoT devices, billions of IoT devices being deployed all over the world, increasing the number of cameras for security, safety, product verification, industrial maintenance and repair. IoT is going nuts. It's everywhere. And you actually are working on IoT or edge applications as well, aren't you? Edge models.
100% correct. So our latest model, obviously, we trained it for NSFW detection, but the pilot that we ran to benchmark it with Intel was for sensitive image detection. So when you start getting into the manufacturing space of, like high-end products. So what we did with Intel was we ran it across.
Just if you could take a step back a little bit. So do you want to just introduce the collaboration that you have with Intel? Because you're part of a program that Intel runs. And
so
we're
Definitely. So super grateful to the Intel team at Intel Liftoff. So that's their like startup onboarding program. And what they do is they come in and, they work with you to try to see, how you can leverage Intel's resources to, optimize your products or, things like that. And so with Des and Rahul and the team, we were talking about what we wanted to do with making our model, just super small, so super light footprint, and really low power to go on the edge. And as you spoke to previously, edge devices are blowing up. And so the further out to the edge you can get the decision point for a system, meaning inference at the edge, then the faster that you can make those decisions and take those actions, right? And so edge accounts for everything from handheld, like so you have like QA walking around with a handheld product defect or anomaly detection, right? Smart TVs, agricultural sensors, health monitors, wearables, video doorbells like the Ring cameras, all of that stuff. So when I tell people, our goal is 1 billion paid devices, it's kind of an eye opener. But then if you actually think about the number of, image capable devices that are out in the world, it's kind of like, well, yeah, I guess it's 1 billion is not really that much anyway. So, and providing that capability to our clients or users, just enhances. I feel like it enhances the overall quality of life across the board, because you push it out further to the edge.
And all of these devices are going to be managed by AI because of the volume of devices, the volume of data involved. And so the computer vision models are essential in order to be able to automate the visual monitoring.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's the same issue. It's the same issue with, AI generated content. It's coming and it's happening right now. So why not use AI to help, manage this? And it's the same with IoT devices, to your specific point just now.
Yeah.
These are coming online and they're coming on fast. And so they're going to go beyond the capability of a rules-based system or a human cohort to manage them solely, right? I'm always an advocate of human in the loop. But yeah, just using AI as a tool for augmentation to help you manage these solutions and get to these decision points much faster. Reduction of error time, mean time to detection, things like that.
Yeah, but AI at the edge has different rules apply. There's connectivity, there is power usage, there is processing. And you're actually working on some of those problems, I think, with the Intel project.
Literally. And so that's what we were. So when we ran this project with Intel, we kind of looked at, okay, the current model architecture is really good for what it's designed for, and that's to be run on a server, run on a laptop, run on something with some plugged in power and significant compute resources for that specific image task. Well, when you start pushing things out to the edge, you run into size, space, and power utilization criteria, or constraints rather. And so for us, when we developed our latest model that we then benchmarked with Intel, it was the purely focus on size and while maintaining accuracy, obviously, but size and power consumption. Those were the two main determining factors. And we got it down to 4 megs. We currently have a model that we're training that's sub 1 megabyte in size, and it's 90% power efficient. So I think we benchmarked the typical VIT model, the vision transformer model, at around, I think it was like 6 watts or something along those lines per actual inference of the image. And our model is like 0.06 watts or 0.6 watts, 6.5 per inference. And where you get that benefit is, so if you look at like drone for crop scanning, or soil sampling, things like this, anything at the edge, you don't have, you're not going to run a 1,000-foot extension cable out to that one little sensor. So that battery becomes key, and that battery is has to run the whole device. So you can't have your inference just churning down that battery, at a ridiculous rate, and have that still be a sustainable solution for that farmer, or for that person wearing the glasses, or whatever. And so when you start talking about wearables and things like that, then it really hits home from a consumer perspective of, yes, I hate when my Bluetooth headphones wear out. So anything that will help not speed that up is kind of key to making the.
Then of course when you multiply that by hundreds or thousands or millions or billions of devices, then the wastage is huge from those larger models.
Absolutely. And and me and you spoke to this specifically, this point, I think probably about a year ago, when you were asking me my perspective on what's going to happen in the model space. And I told you, I think everything's going to get smaller and go on device. And that's not just like a Oracle mic prediction. That's kind of, if you ever have watched the evolution of technology, it always starts out big, aka the IBM mainframes, and then where are we today? iPhones and Androids and Samsung Galaxies, and that have a billion or whatever the number is currently, the compute power.
Exactly. So we talked a little bit about malicious images, but I think it's worth going back to that and talking about a little bit more what that entails and what the risks are to organizations. And you mentioned We were talking before the show about Tesla and their 2019
Exactly.
image. It wasn't a scandal, but it was a wake-up call where somebody posted an image with code on it on a street sign, and the Tesla picked that up, and then it caused a malfunction within Tesla.
Correct.
But that practically could happen to a wide variety of devices, but
it's happening. It's happening right now to a wide variety of devices, right? And so with any type of new technology and innovation, you start talking about, it's always the innovation that gets the celebration. And I think, safety and security, comes secondary and third and fifth and 10th, or, wherever it fits in that company's, priority stack. But what happened is, what you're talking about is the robustness of that model, right? So any added noise or pixelation in an image, if that model is not trained from a robust data set with these variations, with these attack-based images in it, your model becomes brittle and it becomes susceptible. And so the incident that you're talking about is somebody put a sticker of a mispixeled sticker on a stop sign. And even though the models are obviously trained to recognize stop sign, that little pixelation or attack threw the model off. And so, basically caused the Tesla to run through the stop sign. And, it's whether you're a fan of Elon and Tesla or not, if you start looking at the number of automakers that are putting these, trying to autonomous driving and full self-driving in, you start looking at the real world impacts that somebody somewhere could put a sticker on a stop sign and that car can plow through that stop sign. Well, what if there's people involved, right? And so that's kind of the importance of robustness testing and training for these image models. And so that's why we came up with our solution, Talon, and you can go check it out. It's talon.falcons.ai. And basically what it does is it runs, the gambit of the 5 adversarial tests through that model, and it gives you a robustness score. Why that's important, and we started with the open source side of things, is because most people do not build their own network or their own architecture from scratch. What most developers do, as you should be, right, leveraging training before, right? They grab these models, these pre-trained models off of Hugging Face, and then they fine tune them. Well, you're still bringing in those deficiencies if you're not adding in some semblance of robustness testing in your model training pipeline, right? And so this is just kind of a simple tool for developers and companies that do fine tune their models on open source models to say, hey, we have done our due diligence in the domain of making this model more robust and more safe to deploy publicly, right?
And very relevant to the region at the moment, with hundreds or thousands of autonomous vehicles expected to go on the roads in the next few years.
Well, think about the autonomous drones, right? Or the autonomous cars, are flying.
Yes.
Cars, right. So that's even more critical. And so, it's what we thought, years ago as a passing joke was, flying cars and, self-driving cars. Well, that's a reality. And that's the world we live in. But the things that make these possible need to be more robust, need to be more stable. And so that's kind of, once again, gearing our focus back towards, AI for good and solutions with societal impact, right? Yeah, sure. Everybody and every company and every developer, maybe they don't feel like they need to, worry about robustness of the vision models because they're focused on, X, Y, and Z. But everybody deploying these agents that are consuming these images and passing them through, you're exposing those systems and subsystems to, these attack vectors as well. So just something to keep in mind.
Great. I'm going to ask if there's any audience questions, but we can continue talking. So Talon is the model testing solution that you have, right?
Yes. Talon is the model robustness testing solution. That's correct.
Oh, okay. And there was one other model then that we haven't mentioned.
Oh, the API for the malicious image detection, right? Going along the lines of the trust and safety side of things. So there's been an old is relative to me, I guess, but there's been a trick where people have been embedding malware and viruses into images, right, and then passing them along. most antivirus, most up-to-date antivirus will catch it. But the issue is it still has to hit your system, and it has to hit a system with up-to-date antivirus protection on it, right? And so what we did was we came up with this malicious image detection that basically scans an image and identifies any type of code embedded in that image. The reason that any company may want to use this, any company that accepts external image uploads, is, well, it's a cybersecurity aspect, right? Once again, your model can break from an adversarial image, but your system can break as well, because when it starts executing malicious code because a user clicked on an image and tried to render it in their image editor or whatever, it kicks off. So our rationale with the malicious image detection is as a front end, right? So if you can keep the home invasion outside of your fence, right? Why wait till it gets inside to call the police and do all this stuff and take all these remediatory actions or whatever? So that's kind of the impetus behind the malicious image detection API. And these are all available right now. You can go to Rapid API and pull up Falcon's AI and click through these APIs and stuff. But for us, it's just, let's leverage this technology to solve problems, not necessarily automate what we've already been doing, but automate this next wave of problems that we're having by launching this technology, right? And so we talked about the image gen scenario. Well, it's easy now to generate images embedded with malware, because how many images can you generate in an hour? Well, that's the level of malicious images that you could generate as well. And I'm not talking about just NSFW content or things that would get flagged by content moderators. It may be something as simple as Tweety Bird, and there's a Trojan or a ransomware embedded in it, and then maybe it doesn't get hit by, or get picked up by your web filters or whatever security protocols you're going in. Some user decides, oh look, check this cute image out, and now it's proliferating through your network. So
yes, that's the history of the internet. Let's just download
Absolutely.
this and see what it does.
Oh, this looks cool. Well, so
great. Thank you very much for taking the time today, Michael. There was one question from Mohammed, but we already answered that because he's interested in the nature of your model that got downloaded 1 billion times. Congrats again on the 1 billion downloads. It's just mind-boggling, and I know there's lots of hard work behind that, so you definitely deserve it.
Well, I mean, I have to interrupt you right now. I honestly, it's the community. It's people like you and Middle East AI News that have always been reaching out, hungry. I don't know how you do what you do with a barrage of changes and evolutions that are happening in the space right now. So the fact that you've been there for our story this whole time, the DDS community, Mohammed Yasser Isham, Ali Adel, Dubai, that whole ecosystem has definitely kind of been a catalyst to make this happen, and obviously God Almighty will.
And you've been able to watch that grow too, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the stark difference from 2021 to 2025 in the UAE is crazy, because we were I think we were one of two AI companies at 𝗟𝗓𝗏 back in 2021, which was nuts. And then you go to GITEX now, and it's like, a quadrillion, or whatever the attendance is. People talking about AI. So yeah, the UAE is definitely paving the way.
Yeah, and but it's hard to keep up. It's moving very, very fast.
That's why I have to hats off to you, sir, because you are, I don't know when you sleep.
Not enough, I think, is the answer. Great. So I'm going to round off. Any final comments that you might have before we go? I don't think we don't have any other questions from the audience, which is fine, because we covered quite a lot.
So yes, I kind of prepped you for this one, but since we are talking about artificial intelligence and thinking machines, So, when people start projecting out, what, SGI or, AGI or whatever term you want to use is going to happen and what it's going to do to us in the future, I always kind of bring it back down to, so I'll ask you personally this question: with what would you do? What do you think your motives or ambitions would be if you had a 1,000 IQ? Now you have to put that in perspective. A 1,000 IQ is like ungodly. Like you're I don't even think the metrics for measuring IQ actually map up to that high in intelligence because you're thinking on different levels.
Well, yeah, it's a very interesting question, and we talked about it, and I gave it some thought since you mentioned it before. I think my gut reaction is hide, because anybody with 1,000 IQ is going to be a hunted man or woman. And the second will be, well, probably save the planet. The planet needs saving. There's a lot of things that are very wrong in it, and the potential to come up with new ways of addressing things. But the reality is, nobody can imagine what it's like to have 1,000 IQ.
You can't think on those levels, right? But so I always put that out there because we are talking about intelligence and emergent patterns and all of these phenomena that are happening before our eyes. So we're actually watching this new form of thinking evolve. And so I think that's something that we as humans have to kind of constantly conceptualize is, okay, if I had that, what would I be thinking? Because these models are trained on human knowledge at their core. Now they can come up with just different variations and emergent patterns in the data, but at their core they are trained on human visuals and human text and human audio. So if we had that level of elevated thinking, what would we be thinking, right? So that's kind of what I get down. I don't ever try to predict the future, but that's kind of, if I could, it would be that.
Yeah. And then begs the question: what will you do when there's machines that have that kind of intelligence?
It's coming.
Which we could talk about all day.
Oh, right. I do think it's on the horizon. I don't know when, but yeah, I do think it's there.
Great. Thanks very much for joining us, Mike. It's been great.
Not a problem. Thank you for having us.
Hope to have you back again one day. And best of luck with the next billion.
Yeah, that's the plan. The next billion will be monetary, so that's what I'm looking for.
Okay. See you soon.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
I've been talking to Michael Stattelman, founder and CEO of Falcons AI. I've been talking about computer vision and the Falcons AI not safe for work model that's got 1 billion downloads from AI community site Hugging Face. And thank you for joining. That's all we have time for Thursday Deep Dive today. If you didn't already like this event, please do. And we'll be back again next week, same time, 12 noon KSA, 1 p.m. UAE, Thursday, 13th of November, with another great guest and interesting topic. And don't forget to check out the Middle East AI News website, www.middleeastainews.com, if you haven't been there already. Lots of interesting things for those that are interested in the development of AI in the region and the impact it's having across Middle East and North Africa. Thank you again for joining, and see you again soon.